Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk, where we give it to you straight with no chaser. I am your esteemed host, your humble servant, and occasional provocateur, the people's champ, Christopher Platt. As always, this evening we are broadcasting to you live from the Platt Cave. How's everybody doing this evening? I'm feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Now, if you're new to the broadcast, we've got a couple of ways that we can do this, all right? You can log on through the social media stream of your choice, be that Facebook, be it Twitter. If you're trying to get a job, it may be LinkedIn. If you're trying to get some ass, it may be Tinder. Whatever it is, log on through your social stream. Now, once you do that, you are able to send me your questions, your comments, as well as your concerns. Now, if you'd like, you can also log on through the actual Ustream account. You can set up a username, a password, all that good stuff. And then I'm also able to see your comments. And throughout the show, you'll see I kind of toggle back and forth between the two. Bottom line is, I want to hear your voice. That's what it all comes down to. That's what it's all about. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear what you have to say. I want this to be as much of a dialogue as it can possibly be. So, how you guys doing today? Thank you, brother. What's up, Nitty? Thank you, brother. It's not a new couch, man. I appreciate that you love the shirt, man. You're showing love for the woo. You know what it is. And it's not a new couch, baby. This is the same couch we've had in the Platt Cave since the inception of this particular program. I'm excited myself. I just watched the Cleveland Cavaliers type the series with the Chicago Bulls. And I'm feeling a little better about that series right now. Because, you know, initially when Kevin Love went down initially, I was a little worried. Because Chicago, number one, they're deep. They've got a really good squad. And they're big. They've got a lot of bigs. Like, they got like 4 or 5 bigs that can play. And that worried me a little bit. I feel a little better because we did get this game tonight. So it's still 1-1 and it's anybody's ball game. So what I'm resting my hat on is that from now on throughout this series, the games are going to be like, I think, 1 day apart. And Derrick Rose, since he's been back, the more rest that he's been able to get, the better he's been productivity-wise. So the fact that he's not going to be able to get so much rest, I think we might be able to wear him down. And in that exact same vein, Jimmy Butler, not only do the Bulls depend on his scoring, because he's been phenomenal this entire season. Not only do they depend on his scoring, but he's also got to defend LeBron on the other end. So I'm hanging my hat on the fact that hopefully they'll be able to wear those two gentlemen down, and we'll be able to sneak this series out in 6 or 7 games. Because that K-Love thing, man, when he went down, I'm thinking the same thing most of y'all were probably thinking, or Cleveland fans in general, like, damn it, not again. So we'll see. Because this is probably the worst possible matchup we could have had without Kevin Love. And then I look and I see Verjao sitting on the sideline suited up, and I'm like, damn, we need some size. So we'll see. And we still have LeBron. If all else fails, we still have LeBron there. Regardless of whomever y'all want to clown, he's still the man until further notice is given. So that being said, how's everybody doing this evening? I'm feeling pretty well. A-Ro asked me, did I hear about the Deflategate text messages? I actually didn't. I don't understand why that Deflategate thing is really such a big... I don't know why there's such a big brouhaha. Because it's professional athletics, and everybody cheats in professional athletics. That's just what it is. Because, I mean, the margin for error is so slim. Because these guys are the best in the world at what they do. So the margin of error is so slim that whatever professional competitive advantage that you're able to obtain, you're going to do whatever it is that will give you that advantage. You know what I mean? Whether or not it pays dividends, I don't know. But you're going to do whatever you can to try to get an advantage. That's just what it is. So there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about this evening. We're going to get into the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, of course. And I also want to get into the Baltimore situation as well a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about that this evening as well. And whatever you all have on your mind. I'd like to hear your questions, your comments, and concerns. And I'd like to hear about what you're talking about right now. A-Ro says there were incriminating messages between the locker room attendant and the equipment assistant. Well, quite frankly, if you don't think that the New England Patriot organization had any knowledge of that, I got some swampland to sell you in Arizona. Of course they knew. But somebody's got to fall on the sword. So it's probably going to be the equipment people. Somebody got to fall on the sword in this situation. And I mean, really, why are we even talking about this? What are you going to do? You're not going to take their Super Bowl from them. So why are we even, why is this even news? Why is this even news? I don't understand that. It's not a new couch, Frank, but what it is that it's a new computer. So the lighting might be a little different. So that might be why the couch looks a little different as well. But yeah, what are you going to really do? Nobody's going to do anything. You're not going to take their Super Bowl from them. So we just need to move on and understand that professional athletics, Melon Farm is cheap, man. That's just what it is. Melon Farm is cheap. It's just what it is. So that being said, I am excited that Cavs tied up the series. It's 1-1. Frank Nitty says, did you hear that Texas thinks they're going to be taken over by the Army? Wow. I did not hear that. But the irony of that statement is that if there's one nation or one country, or excuse me, one city in this whole country that really doesn't have anything to worry about, is Texas. Not only do they have money, they have old money, and everybody got guns. So Texas is going to be all right. They're going to be just fine. They're going to be just fine. But we can get into that as well, though. Because throughout the last week, really week and a half, I've seen a lot of people online that have been talking about how there's this big race war that's coming. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about that. And I don't see it coming to that. I think that's a little hyperbole, and I think it's a good way to get people scared. But I don't see it coming to that. But a lot of people have been talking about that. And shit, if this whole thing goes to hell and we're back to, or we got to go to like, the Purge or the Hunger Games scenario, quite frankly, that's the only scenario that I'm not worried about black people. If it really does come to that and we just have all out anarchy and it's just what it is, that is the only situation that I am not worried about black people. And the reason I say that is because we've been surviving this whole time. We know how to survive. If that's what it comes to, we're going to be all right. As a matter of fact, everybody meet at D.C. Make your way out to D.C. and then we'll figure it out from there. But yeah, we're going to be all right if it comes to that. I'm not worried about that. I know people, stacking water and, these white folks, they out here, they teaching their kids how to shoot guns and this and that, preparing for whatever. That's the only scenario I'm not worried about black folks in, because we're going to survive. We've been surviving this whole time. The point is, we need to figure out how to live. We ain't figured out how to live yet. Frank Nitty says the government set up war games out there and the governor said it's to take them over. Ha ha. That's funny. Texas got way too much old money. They're going to be all right. Texas got way too much old money. They got that oil money. Texas is going to be all right, in other words. But they say shit like that because, that scares people. And when people are scared and they don't know what to do, what do? They lean on government. They lean on government. And the government is owned by the same entities. Now, understand when I say that, I'm not talking about conspiracy or conjecture. I'm not saying, oh my God, the Illuminati is going to take our computers. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is refer to the golden rule. Now, I'm not sure how you all were taught what the golden rule is. But what my uncle taught me, and shout out to Uncle Jose, what my uncle taught me is that the golden rule, all that means is that he who has the gold rules. He who has the gold rules. So what that means is if you have money, you can buy politicians, you can buy power, you can buy influence, you can buy laws. So then therefore, you're going to skew the rules into your favor. And when I say they, because I use they a lot, and I know sometimes people might be asking, well, who exactly is they? So when I talk about they, what I'm talking about is the people that don't give a damn about any of us, regardless of race, regardless of creed, regardless of color. I'm talking about the people that have the money, and it is in their best interest to make sure that they maintain the money. and they link up with like-minded individuals, and it's not no conspiracy. I mean, these people, they went to the same schools, they go to the same country clubs, their kids go to the same schools. You understand? So it's not a conspiracy. They know how to act in their own best interest. And unfortunately for us, their best interest does not, I repeat, does not coincide with our best interest. So when I say they, that's what I'm talking about. And I run into this conversation a lot of times with my white friends, and I try to tell them that when we talk about white people, we're not necessarily talking about them. Because see, the problem is, well, one of the problems about blacks here in this country is that we don't have a face to associate with the hate. We don't really have a face to associate with the hate. You understand what I mean? So, for example, our Jewish brothers and sisters, they can go to Hitler. They can go to Mengele. They can go to all those Nazi doctors and all those Nazi people. And if you want to take it way back to the biblical times, we can go all the way back to Pharaoh. See, they have a face to associate with the hate and with the oppression. As blacks in this country, we really don't. All we have is a skin tone, which is white. So I tell my white friends, man, when we talk about white people, we're not necessarily talking about you. We're not talking about Joe the plumber. We're not talking about John the carpenter. We're not talking about Steve that works at the local Amoco. We are referring to a system that screws you too, white people, but makes you believe that you're part of it because you have the complexion for the protection. But make no mistake about it, we're all getting screwed here. And see, they've been playing on that race thing since the inception of this country, and it's been working, so why change it? Right? Right? So anyway, let's get started this evening, and let's start with the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight. Now, what did you guys think of that? I'm assuming that you watched it, because I'm pretty sure damn near everybody in the country watched it. So what did you all think about that? Because there's a lot going on there. So what are your thoughts, feelings on in the aftermath of the quote-unquote fight of the century? Well, I will say this. People were mad. My God, people were mad. I don't know if you guys looked at social media at the conclusion of the fight, but if you go on social media right after the fight, man, Mayweather was all kind of, he was called types of niggas. And it was coming from not only white folks, it was coming from the Asian community, it was also coming from the Latino community. Like, he was all types of niggas. He was all types of niggas. All types of niggas. And my thing is, I don't really know what people expected. Like, I've been saying this for the past 5-6 years. That, you know, A, they were going to eventually fight because there was just way too much money to be made. And B, when they finally did square off, it wasn't going to be much of a fight. Like, Mayweather is just that good. A-Bro said, I think it's crazy they want to sue Manny. LOL. What do I think about that? I heard about that. Yeah, people are mad because of the thing, and then he's claiming that he had a separated shoulder or something, some bullshit. And people are suing Manny. And my argument is, people weren't expecting anything out of Mayweather. I think they were expecting more from Pacquiao. And it's no disrespect to Pacquiao. He's a hell of a fighter. But he's just not in the class of Mayweather. Like, when they finally got in the ring and they touched gloves and all that before the actual fight started, the first thing that stuck out to me was the glaring difference in size. Because Mayweather's a little fella. Like, Mayweather could come in here right now and I'm looking down on him. And I'm 6'2". And he's looking down on Manny. But, I mean, he's the best in the world at what he does. And quite frankly, he might be better at his job than anybody else in the world is at their job. Like, that's how good he is. But people were mad. Frank Nitty says it's crazy about Pac-Man lying about being hurt. Well, number one, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Number two, he's not going to do anything to screw up that money because, see, he's got tax issues not only in his home country of the Philippines, but here as well. So, like, he needed that paycheck. So he wasn't going to do anything that was going to jeopardize that paycheck. And let's say that it went the opposite. You know what I mean? That Manny actually won the fight. And then after the fight, Mayweather was complaining about he had a bum shoulder or he was hurt. How would that go over? How would that have gone over? Because I wanted to talk a little bit about the reaction that Mayweather received. Not only leading up to the fight, but through the fight, and then in the aftermath of the fight. People really just don't like Floyd Mayweather. And the reason behind that is, this is straight talk, so I got to keep it 115, right? America likes their black men meek and humble. So when a black man gets out there and he's talking the talk that Floyd is talking, even though he's playing the role, he's playing a heel to bring in some wrestling terminology. He's playing the bad guy. That's the whole point. Like, you're supposed to get extremely mad. And you're supposed to go out there and want to pay you're supposed to get so mad that you want to pay your money to see this uppity nigga get his comeuppance. That's the game, man. Exactly. Bieber. That's why you bring out Bieber. He knew exactly what he was doing. That was a strategic move. Because that's saying to white America, hey, man, I got your youth. And that pisses them off. I got your youth riding with me. And that pisses them off. America doesn't like their black men braggadocious. That's just what it is. Because everybody loves Muhammad Ali now, but you got to keep in mind, if you study history, you realize and understand that nobody was really fooled. Everybody hated Muhammad Ali up until he lost the ability to speak. Before Muhammad Ali lost the ability to speak, people hated him. And he was running the exact same game, because that's how you sell tickets. Like, that's the game. That's how you sell tickets. That is exactly how you sell tickets. And it's the same game Ali ran. It's the same game Tyson ran. And it's the same game that Mayweather's running. Because when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, he was doing the exact same thing, but nobody gave a damn. Until he switched into that Money Mayweather persona. And I said this on this show previously, but if you really look at it, Floyd Mayweather is the American dream. I mean, he's a high school dropout. He bought his way out of his contract with Bob Arum, that's the guy that promotes Manny Pacquiao. He bought his way out of his contract. He bet on himself. And now he's making bank. He's playing by his own rules. It's on his own terms, and he dictates what's going to go on. And at the end of the day, he gets that check. See, the difference between Pacquiao and Mayweather got that $100 million check. Pacquiao did not. Bob Arum got that $100 million check, and he going to break Pacquiao off something. That's the difference. Mayweather's the boss, and he got that check. You understand? That's the difference. But a lot of people were really upset, man. And they, and I'm going to call out a couple of media sites right now. I'm calling out ESPN. I'm calling out Deadspin. And I'm also calling out Bleacher Report. Now, ESPN, we're going to start there. For the last 2 weeks, all they have been talking about is Floyd and his domestic violence situation. That is all they have been talking about. Now, they did the fluff piece with Stephen A. Smith when he went out to Floyd's house and, they showed the cars and all that shit. That was a little fluff piece. All that was a heel promo. So to bring it back to professional wrestling terms, because I know at some point in time you all have seen some form, shape, or fashion of professional wrestling. So all that was the bad guy coming in saying, I got all this money and all of y'all are trash and you're peons and I'm the best in the world and look how great I am. That's all that was. That was a heel promo. So now you want to pay to see him get his comeuppance. You know what I mean? And that's all that was about. Don't get it twisted. And they brought up his domestic violence past. And to be honest, he gave him that stick to fight with, okay? But at the same time, the man went to jail for it. He paid his debt to society. What more do you really want from him? And again, we can point to a lot of white entertainers and celebrities that have domestic violence issues in their past as well. However, it's not brought up. So if we're going to be fair, let's be fair. Like, we're going to take a stand against domestic violence, then take a stand against domestic violence. It doesn't matter who does it, right? Or it shouldn't. But you know good and damn well the powers that be don't give a damn about these women. You know that. Or at least you should. But that's all it is. Frank Mitty says a good point. That's all it is. It's wrestling. He's the heel. And they hate him. Not only do they hate that he's the boss, not only do they hate that he just made $100 million in 36 minutes of work, but they also hate that he refuses to pander to get their love. They hate that he refuses to pander and get their love. Because see, Mike Vick, when he came out of jail, and I got love for Mike Vick, he was all on that pandering tour, but he had to because he needed to have a check. He needed some bread. But they hate that he refuses to pander. And I've seen a lot of articles, like, for example, Deadspin, they ran an article the day right after the fight. They were talking about how Mayweather was a coward because he didn't want to fight Pacquiao. Dude, he's not a fighter. He's a boxer. And that's the same thing he did for all those other, 48 victories. He did the exact same thing. His script didn't change. You just thought more Pacquiao than you should have. You thought he was the one that was going to be able to shut him up. Frank Nitty said in boxing, you still get 100 mil. Yeah. Yeah. Now, you also got to keep in mind, too, man, because people see that 100 mil and they think he's going home with $100 million in his pocket. That's not the case. Remember, he's the boss. So that means out of that 100 mil, he's got to pay his lawyers that looked at those contracts to make sure that all the T's were crossed and the lowercase J's were dotted. Okay? He's got to pay his corner people. He's got to pay his cut man. He's got to pay his trainer. Out of that 100 mil, he's also got to pay his sparring partners. He's also got to pay his staff. If he doesn't have a gym, he's got to pay for the gym rental. You know what I mean? So, like, he's got to divvy out that money. Like, he's the boss. So he got to make sure everybody gets paid. You understand? So it's not like because I don't think people really have a firm grasp and understanding of the way money works. They just hear 100 million and they think he's just putting 100 million into his pocket. And that's not how it works. Frank Nitty said NFL domestic violence means you're out of the league. Not really, because there's a lot of guys that have put hands on women that are still playing in the league. Quite frankly, it depends on how good you are. Because, see, that's the thing. Everybody's trying to put this more. That's the thing with this fight. That's why it sold so many tickets. Because everybody wants to put some sort of moral clause into boxing. And at the end of the day, all boxing is two guys in the ring, mano a mano. And the goal is to hit that guy more than he hits you. Or to hit him so hard that he can no longer continue. There's not a lot of moral ground that you can put into that. But they play that game because that's what sells tickets. That's what sells tickets. So that's the game that they got to play. So what I tell you is don't get caught up in the game. Understand it for what it is. A Rose says definitely respect Mayweather as a boss / businessman. And you have no choice but to. Quite frankly, he's the most high-profile athlete in the world right now. A little Chardonnay. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Chardonnay. So you have to respect him for his business acumen. But all these ratchet pieces and everything that I've been seeing, they rub me the wrong way. I'm not going to sit up here and condone domestic violence. Nobody should. But what I'm saying is, let's be fair. Like, we're going to call out domestic violence. Let's call out domestic violence across the board. Not when it's feasible to fit your agenda. That's all I'm saying. Frank Nitty said that definition of boxing just had me dying. But that's what it is, right? That's what it is. At its bare bones facts. That's exactly what boxing is. So that being said, to try to place some sort of moral value onto it is intellectually dishonest and flat out stupid. Because you can't. There is no moral ground to be placed on boxing. Back in the day, boxing was ran by the mob. So there is no moral ground to be had. That's all I'm trying. That's the point I'm trying to make. And the white supremacists, they hide behind the fact that, oh, well, domestic violence, and that's the stick they have. So they keep beating it. They keep beating it. They keep beating it. But that's not what they're mad at. They're mad because he's an arrogant nigger. And the comments in social media post-fight prove that. Because it wasn't just coming from whites. It was coming from the Asian community. It was also coming from the Latino community. Like, people just don't like flashy, loud, braggadocious niggers. That's all there is to it. And if you want to have a better understanding of what exactly just happened, I suggest that you go watch this movie. It's called The Great White Hype. Really good movie. I think it came out in like 96, 97, so it's a little older. Really good movie, though. It's got Sam Jackson in it. Jeff Goldblum is in it. Jamie Foxx. And a few other people that you know. John Lovitz. A few other people that you know. It's in it. But it really breaks down exactly what just happened in this spectacle. And there's a lot of good game in that movie, man. A lot of good game in that movie. It's funny. It got panned by critics, but it's funny. It's a satire. But it tells you a lot about how it speaks a lot about the racial divide in this country. And it also lets you know, it shows you the game. Like how everybody is out for self and how they maneuver and how they interact with others, trying to look out for their own self-interest. It's just a very fascinating movie to watch. So I suggest you burn one and then you go check out The Great White Hype. Really good movie. He said, I agree. Frank Nitty said, I agree with you. Just an entertaining definition. Well, thank you, sir. I try to be entertaining. A. Rose said they hate him so much. They really do. They really do. But they can't come out and say why. So I'm just asking you to peep game. That's all I'm saying. Just peep game. Why are you really that upset with this guy? And then you want to call him a coward. Like, who wants to get hit in the head for a living? You know what I mean? The object is to not get hit. Right? So they can't say that he just outclassed Pacquiao because he was just a better boxer. They have to make excuses. Plus, you got to understand that gives Pacquiao a good out. So if that rematch comes back around, so they can make another $100 million. So you got to understand that too. It's all a game, man. You got to understand it's all a game. It's all a game. So what are your thoughts about it? Were you upset that Mayweather won? Were you cheering for Pacquiao? Do you understand the game? Because I understand that he had a couple of reporters banned too that were talking greasy about him. And I understand you're not used to seeing this from black people, but that's what power looks like. That's what power looks like. See, power, you ain't got to go back and forth with people. You snap your finger and you make it happen. That's what power looks like. And if you noticed, up to the buildup of this fight, the only one that was really talking was Manny in his camp. They were the ones talking. Floyd was focused. And he didn't really talk greasy about Manny during the build-up to this fight. But white America was convinced that Pacquiao was the one that was going to knock him out. And as a result, he became an honorary white man for the day. And since he didn't, they were pissed off. Just is what it is, right? Just is what it is. But they're going to run it back, and there'll be a rematch. And they're setting up for the rematch now. You know, I'm going to try to do my Manny. I was hurt. My shoulder was bumming. I couldn't throw punches with my shoulder. That was my Manny. No disrespect. Manny, he seemed like an alright chap. I'm just, being silly. But yeah, they're going to set that up for a rematch. And everybody keeps talking about how boxing is a dying medium, and yet and still, this fight just made $500 million. So, can UFC do that? UFC has one star, and that's Ronda Rousey, and they have nobody for her to fight. So, what's going to replace boxing? What's going to replace boxing? Boxing will be dead until the next $100 million fight comes across, and then, you know what I mean, you'll hear the exact same quotes coming from the exact same people. That's just what it is. But don't get caught up in Floyd's domestic violence, that stuff. Remember, he did go to jail for that. He did pay his debt to society, okay? I mean, there's all types of white artists and entertainers. I mean, from Alec Baldwin, Sean Penn, Sean Connery. Hell, Sean Connery said it's acceptable to slap a bitch. He said that. And then he went on 2020. He was interviewed by Barbara Walters, and she tried to give him an opportunity to walk that statement back. Not only did he not walk it back, he doubled down on it. Or Christian Bale. Yeah, Christian Bale, he not only did he beat his girl's ass, he beat his mama's ass. And that's not to throw shade on any of those gentlemen. I'm not the moral police. I'm just saying that stuff doesn't get brought up when their name is brought up. So you got to see game. You got to peep game and see that for what it is. You got to see that for what it is. Me personally, I enjoy boxing, and I enjoy the sport of boxing. It's basically violent chess. So I enjoy watching Mayweather fight. You know what I mean? I enjoy him dipping and dodging and not getting hit. Like, I enjoy watching that. I find that entertaining. It's like watching Mozart or Beethoven conduct a symphony for me. That's how I look at it. So I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed that there was only 3 people in the whole bar that I watched it at that were actually cheering for Mayweather. So I just went ham. Y'all know me. I'm an asshole, so I went ham. I had all types of chants and whatnot going. But anywho, so yeah. Don't get caught up in the hype. That's the bottom line with the whole Mayweather incident. Do not get caught up in the hype. Now, that leads me to my next point, something else that I wanted to bring up today, and I wanted to talk about the Baltimore situation. Shout out to the prosecutor. She seems like she about that life. You know what I mean? Like, she's about that business. So shout out to her. But when the cops got arrested, there was a lot of celebration. It was a very celebratory mood. And I don't want to be the turd in the punch bowl. I don't want to be the wet blanket. I don't want to be that guy that spoils everybody's fun. I don't want to be that guy. But this is straight talk. So if you're a student of history, you know not to count your chickens before they're hatched, because absolutely positively nothing has actually been done. They had to do this to pacify those protesters because they weren't going to stop. So they had to do something to pacify those protesters. You guys remember a few years ago when everybody got excited when George Zimmerman got indicted and that he was going to go to trial because we thought there was no possible way that he was going to be acquitted of those charges? How'd that work out for you? How'd that work out for you? See, black people, I'm going to get on y'all for a second. Black people, man, we have a tendency to rest on our laurels. We have a tendency to pop our collars and to celebrate before the task is actually done. We just do that. It just is what it is. That's what we do. So my question that I ask with the Baltimore situation is, what's next? Because, see, the white supremacists, they don't take L's lying down. And again, if you study history, you will understand this. They do not take L's lying down. For every action, there is a equal reaction, right? There's an opposite, an equal reaction. What is that? Is that Newton's law? I'm not very versed in science. Is that Newton's law? And in order to prove my point, I point you to the direction of nothing other than the Civil Rights Movement. When the Civil Rights Act passed, the reaction to that was mass incarceration. Like, and this isn't conjecture, like, this is what it was. The reaction to the Civil Rights Movement, because the Civil Rights Movement whipped America's ass. America was tired. America was fatigued. And America wanted to make sure that they did not have to go through that again. So what did they do? Mass incarceration. They put guns and drugs in the black community. We don't manufacture drugs or guns. We don't manufacture any of that stuff. We don't manufacture any of that. We've talked about this on the show. That's one of the problems. We have we don't make anything. We've talked about this on the show umpteen times, and we will continue to. We don't make anything. We don't manufacture anything. We're nothing more than consumers. So that being said, we didn't bring those guns. You know what I mean? We didn't bring those guns and drugs in the community. We didn't make them. So then you give us these guns and drugs, and then you lock us up for having those guns and drugs. And then you want to say that the problem in the black community is because the family isn't there, because the father's not there. Man, fuck you. Again, I call bullshit on that. So you got to understand that the white supremacists are not going to take an L lying down. That's not their nature, and that's not what has been happening. History shows us that. They're just not going to take this lying down. So this is not the time to celebrate. And what those brothers and sisters need to be doing in Baltimore right now is getting together and figuring out what's next. They need to be getting together and figuring out the next course of action, the next plan of attack. What next? Because you can't just assume that these cops and these officers are going to get indicted. And then I've seen a lot of people in the media, because I think 3 of the cops were black, they're trying to insinuate that this is not a race thing. Don't fall for that okie doke. Because see, when you're a cop, you don't see black or white, you see blue. That's your number one allegiance. So you're going to ride with the program because that's what they do. But you cannot ignore the fact that there's been a disproportionate amount of unarmed black people within the last few months that have been getting killed by the police. Like, you can't ignore that. That's fact. That's the truth. So don't get caught up in that okie doke, because they're going to try to swing that one. And they'll try, and then the white supremacists, they're also going to say that if you try to bring race into the nation, into this matter, they're going to call you a race baiter. Whatever the hell that means. But they love that one. They love that race baiter thing. And they're going to try to say that, no, it's not a race thing, it's a cop thing. So we need to better prepare these cops. But we've talked about this on this show as well, man. There's no intelligent white people that are lining up to be cops, because there's too many opportunities for intelligent white people. So what we're left with are these yokels that, quite frankly, didn't like me before you gave them a gun and a badge. So what you expect to happen? Abro says, and what do you think about the race of the officers involved? Well, I think I just answered that one. That's exactly what I think. So don't fall for the okie doke. And don't rest on our laurels, because nothing has happened. We've not won anything. We've not gained anything. Because they're still going to give these officers the jury of their peers. And how often does that work out for us as blacks? So don't get caught up in that. So you need to be asking yourself, and those brothers and sisters down there in Baltimore need to be asking themselves, what's next? Where do we go from here? And we got to keep this momentum rolling too. Because, see, the media is going to try to rock you to sleep like they always do. And it works every single time. They rock you to sleep. But we need to take this ball and keep rolling with it. We need to take this ball and this momentum, and we need to keep rolling with it. We got to keep rolling with it. That's if you're sick of being on the plantation. If you're not, I can't really do much for you. But if you really want to know what freedom feels like and tastes like and smells like, we got to keep rolling with this. We got to keep rolling with this. We can't stop now. We haven't even begun. And black folks, I'm calling y'all out, because again, we have a tendency to rest on our laurels and celebrate before we've even done anything. We can't do that right now. It's not time for that. This is go time. We need all hands on deck. Okay? Because they're reeling. The beast is reeling. And it knows that. So it's just like a wounded animal is the most dangerous, or a dying animal is the most dangerous. So we have to keep that in mind. Because the beast understands that its time is near. So what are you going to do? I'll put it back on you. What are you going to do? Because understand, during the time of the civil rights, not everybody was active in the struggle. So it's not that different from what's going on right now. A lot of people just kind of stayed out the way and just tried to live their lives. So it's not that different. But understand that this is a crucial time in American history. So we need to make a decision right now. So what are we going to do? Are we going to continue to be on the plantation? And that's not just a black reference, because I know when you hear plantation, you think black. That's not just a black reference. I'm talking to everybody out there, because we're all getting screwed. We're all getting screwed, okay? Those hippies in the 60s, they grew up to be the yuppies of the 80s. Just like in our community, the civil rights fighters of the 60s, both sides sold out their principles and their morals for their opportunity at the American dream. Black and white. And what did they receive for their troubles? Their 401k got snatched. Their retirement got snatched. Their real estate money got snatched. Wall Street took all their investment money. That's what they got for their troubles. On both sides. And see, I talk a lot about race on here because we got to get over that shit, man, because we got a lot bigger fish that we need to fry. You understand? Like, dude, we can't even drink the water. And they putting these GMOs, you know, these genetically modified organisms in the food. Like, we got a lot of bigger things and a lot of bigger fish that we need to fry right now. So we really got to get over this race shit, because we all in the same boat. We all some niggas right now. So we got to get over that. And the only way to get over that is to be honest about it, is to talk about it, and is to work through it. Now, a lot of people are going to call me pragmatic for what I'm about to say. But again, this is straight talk, so I got to hit you with the truth. There's a lot of people out there that are just not going to like me because of something that I had absolutely positively nothing to do with. And it is what it is. So I'm not suggesting that we try to eliminate that, because we're not. What I am suggesting is that we pull the cover off of those that wish us no good. I suggest that we pull the cover off of those. I'm not mad at you if you hate niggas. Go ahead and say that then. Go ahead and say that. Because there's a lot of them out there. And they hide behind these little code words and things of that nature. And you could kind of see that with the Mayweather thing. You can see that with the Mayweather thing if you're really looking at it. So say how you feel. You feel how you feel. I'm not mad at you for feeling how you feel. Because you can't hit what you can't see. We talk a lot about the truth. And again, people get on me, that's your truth. No, it's not my truth. It's the truth. And see, we should all be interested in the truth. Because the truth is tangible. So then when you're dealing with a tangible entity and it's right in front of you, now you know how you need to maneuver, depending on what you got going on. So this is the truth. Okay, so how am I going to get around this? And am I able to just go straight through it? Do I need to figure out how to maneuver around it? Do I need somebody else to maneuver around it and open that door and then I can walk through? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can't hit what you can't see. So we have to be focused on the truth. And that should be our primary objective. Excuse me. Is uncovering and discovering the truth. And I said this on last week's episode. We have to break things down to their most simplest element. Break it down to exactly what it is. And then once we do that, then you add on the nuance. Then you add on the subtlety. Then you add on the background noise associated with that situation. And then that provides context. And then once we have context, then we are able to formulate the truth. And then once we have the truth, we'll be able to base our opinions upon the truth. And my argument to you is that we've been lied to for so long that we don't know what the truth is. So for an example, and Frank, you'll appreciate this analogy. Let's say it's 65 degrees outside. I might think it's hot. You might think it's cold. Neither one of us is wrong, because that is our opinion, and we have the right to our opinions. But again, the truth is that it's 65 degrees outside. So no matter what we may think, or whatever that truth, whatever way we lean towards knowing that truth, that's the truth. So now our primary focus and objective needs to be about how are we going to deal with the truth. Does that make sense? Yeah, we got to be worried about dealing with the truth. So I don't want to see no celebrations down there in Baltimore because absolutely positively nothing has been accomplished yet. Absolutely positively nothing has been accomplished yet. So let's not get caught up in these moral victories. And see, as blacks, we get caught up in these moral victories. And see, we're also taught to take the moral high ground, even though our enemy does not. So that's how we look at the rioters and the looters and the protesters. And that's why we look at them with our noses down, because we have been taught to take the moral high ground when nobody else is. So what sense does that make? Why wait for your kingdom in heaven when you can have heaven on earth? Or is that not what y'all want? That's the question. Is that not what y'all want? That's for black, white, whomever. Is that not what y'all want? Are y'all happy with the system the way it is? And you're willing to just ride it out and hide and get what little pieces of crumbs you can get? You know who does that? Rats do that, man. They get in, they get what they can, and then they go back underground before they get detected. Rats do that. Who in the bloody hell wants to live like a rat? What do y'all think? A Rose says, no, not happy with the way it is, but sadly, so many people are. Yeah, and that's the part I don't understand. Like, I don't know if y'all don't see it the way I see it. Maybe that's what it is. Because we've been trained to think a certain way. We've been conditioned to think a certain way. And see, a lot of times we get technology confused with progress. You know, the fact that I'm able to do this show right here, that shows you how far technology has come. The fact that we all have cell phones. My damn mother has a cell phone now. What's up, Mom? Love you, babe. So I think a lot of times we get pacified with technology. And I think sometimes we also feel so beaten down that we just want to hide and duck out in our own little world and not be bothered with that. But again, I ask you at the end of the day, when that time comes to meet your maker, and your maker asks you, what did you do for your people? And you say to them that I looked out for myself. How well do you think that's going to go over? And see, if you know better, you have to do better. And I'm not saying that's the easy path, because I struggle with that on a daily basis. It's not the easy path, okay? It's not the path of least resistance. I can tell you that from personal experience, Jack. But if you know better, you must do better. And you do not have the luxury of pleading ignorance, because you know better. And so you cannot lie to God. And when I say God, I'm talking about the universal God. You cannot lie to God. And then once you understand that, like when you understand that and you make that part of your being, you understand that you cannot lie to God, then you start to understand that I can't lie to me either. Because I'm supposed to be growing and evolving as an individual and trying to do better. So there, I can't lie to myself anymore either. And then once you understand that you can't lie to God and you can't lie to yourself because it does no good for you, well, then you start looking around at everybody else and saying, well, hell, if I can't lie to God, and you certainly ain't God, and I can't lie to myself, well, then why am I going to lie to you too? What point is that? Why am I going to lie to you? So then now we're operating from a righteous place. And when I say righteous, I'm not necessarily talking in terms of biblically. I'm talking about that you are presenting the truth. You're presenting yourself to other people, flaws and all. We got past the pleasantries. We got past the bullshit. We got past that, you're not feeling well and somebody comes up to you, hey, how you doing? And then all of a sudden you go, I'm fine, how are you? Like, where did that come from? So we cut past all of that. And we start to begin to have righteous interactions with each other. Because we're both coming from righteous places. So then I'm showing you, you're showing me. You're showing me you, and I'm showing you me. And we get our representatives out the way, and we have a righteous interaction. And if we're able to do that, we might be able to come up with something miraculous. Or we might look at each other and say, you know what, I can't really fool with you. I can't really get down with you. And that's fine too. That's cool too. But we must begin to approach everybody and approach our daily routine from a place of righteousness. And let me tell you something, man. When you start to live in the truth, you feel a whole lot better. It's like a weight is lifted off your shoulders. Because y'all see the things that I say on here. And this wasn't an original thought. So I gotta give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Corey Holcomb. He's a real funny comedian. If you're not familiar with him, I suggest you look up some of his material. Very funny guy. But he made a comment one day. He's got a Ustream show as well. And he made a comment one day and he was saying that, all this stuff that I say, I have to get this out or I'm going to go crazy. And I relate to that on a lot of levels. I feel the exact same way. Like, I got to get this out. And see, my thing is, my cause here is that I know better, so I got to do better, and I got to try to show you better. Because if I don't, I'm not walking in my purpose. If I don't do that, I'm not walking in my purpose, and I'm a walking, breathing, living violation of the universal God. So I have to show you the way. Now, you may choose to ignore it. You may choose to reject it. You may choose to keep continuing to live on the plantation. I can't make your mind up for you. But I have to show you the truth because I know the truth. And I have to show it to you. That is my moral obligation to you. So I have to show you. And I'm doing God's work. So I have to show you. Because I don't want to have that conversation with my maker when that time comes. I don't want to have that conversation when he asks me, what did you do for your people? And you have the audacity to call yourself the people's champion. What did you do for your people? And I say, no, God, I looked out for self. That ain't going to fly. That ain't going to fly. A. Rose says pleading ignorance is easy. It is. It really is. And maybe a lot of us are scared of ruffling feathers as well. But the thing is, you can't be scared when you have the truth on your side, and you can't be scared when you have right on your side. And we've talked about this on this show. Fear is a violation of God. Remove fear from your vocabulary. Remove fear from your lexicon. Remove fear from your reality. Fear is a violation of God. Fear is learned. As we're growing up as kids, we fear nothing. Now, a lot of that is because we don't know any better, but we fear nothing. Fear is learned. You're taught fear. But you're not taught that as a violation of God. And I've gotten on the church in the past on a few shows, but this is the type of thing that they need to be telling y'all. This is the exact type of thing that you need to be hearing. But what do I know? I'm just a skinny nigga from Cleveland trying to make a way that smokes too many miles. So back to how we got on this point in terms of the situation down there in Baltimore. This is not the time to be patting ourselves on the back. This ain't the time to be celebrating. This ain't the time to be dancing. This is the time that we need to be strategizing and we need to be playing chess. Far too many people out here are playing checkers. And the powers that be that keep you and I down, they're playing chess and you're caught up in checkers. So we need to be playing chess. We need to be a lot more strategic about our moves. We need to be a lot more strategic about what it is that we do. And we cannot afford to rest on our laurels because absolutely, positively, unequivocally, nothing has happened yet. Nothing has happened yet. So what are you going to do? 30, 40 years from now, are you going to be able to tell your grandkids you were part of the movement? Or are you going to sit this one out? Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. You got right on your side, man. Don't be scared. Don't ever be scared to do the right thing. See, we're constantly living in fear. How did that Ebola thing work out for you? Y'all got it? I ain't got it. And I brought that up to prove my point, to illustrate my point. There's always going to be a new scare. And see, we have to use these incidents, this police violence against us, we have to use this as an opportunity to teach our non-black brothers and sisters about what it is. Now, you have to understand that everybody's not going to ride with you on this. You got to understand that. But those that come from a pure heart, that come from a righteous place and have a righteous spirit, it's our obligation to teach them. Because they don't know. A lot of people didn't grow up with black people, so they don't know. They don't know. So again, do not rest on your laurels on this one, because absolutely, positively, nothing has happened yet. Okay? We got fooled in Zimmerman. And the thing that trips me out about y'all is that you keep allowing them to let you fall for the exact same okie doke. Like, we keep going through the exact same thing. So don't rest on your laurels. Right now is not a time for celebration. Right now is a time for planning. What comes next? What comes next? Anywho, I want to check out a little bit of this Clippers-Rockets game. Chris Paul's not playing tonight, and I was pleasantly surprised by the Clippers the last game, that they were able to win in Houston without Chris Paul. So I want to check this out. So I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you're new to the broadcast, again, we do this every Wednesday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Follow me on Twitter at @TheRealCPlatt to keep up with my posts and my updates. Also follow me on Facebook at Christopher Platt. It's me and my rabbi homie. Okay? I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I love you. Please continue to spread the word. This is the movement. You're on the ground floor, and we're going places. I promise you that. God willing, I'll see you guys next week. Same Platt time, same Platt channel. Until we meet again. Shalom.